Welcome to Penumbra. The conversation starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Podnumbra. I'm very excited to have a special guest with me today, Mr. Paxton Newman of Brothers Broadleaf Cigars here in Tampa, Florida. Paxton, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Will. I'm honored to be here, and it's good to see your face and hear your voice.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's good to see you and good to be with you this afternoon. And for those who are listening, in addition to launching Brothers Broadleaf, which we'll get into in a few minutes, Paxton Newman is part of the JC Newman Cigar family here in Tampa, which was founded in 1895. So, Paxton, just tell me a little bit about what it meant growing up Newman and being a part of that rich family history.
Growing up in a tobacco family, in a cigar family specifically, it's unorthodox to say the least. I'm pretty sure there's a photo of my mom somewhere in the Cigar Aficionado where she has a big Quester Ray 95 in her mouth, and she's pushing my brother in a baby stroller right in front of the White House. Or the Capitol, one of the two. Tobacco and cigars we've always had a humidor at home. I've always seen my dad smoke cigars. You know, he comes home smelling like cigars, and it's something that you don't even second guess. So, as you get older and hear about our history and know what my grandpa and my dad are doing together, it was really, really cool. But it's just a normal family, just rather than some people being doctors and lawyers or selling insurance, my dad sold cigars.
Yeah, absolutely. As everybody knows, America just celebrated its 250th anniversary, and the JC Newman Cigar Company is 130 years old. In 1895, a premium cigar cost about 5 cents. A gallon of milk was around 7 cents, and I think a gentleman's business suit was around $15. Obviously, prices has gone up for all those products these days, and including a premium cigar. But you specifically, you and your brother Dawson have branched out and launched what is called Brothers Broadleaf Cigars. So before we get into that, just tell me a little bit about where you grew up, where you went to school, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so born September 24th, 1997 in Tampa, to a fantastic mom and dad. I have an older brother who's 3 years older. We both went to the same elementary, middle school, and high school that my dad went to, which was Berkeley Prep. I went to college and I graduated 2016 at College of Charleston. I did a major in biology, which I do not use nowadays at all. But I enjoyed science. I enjoyed plants, and yeah, it was a great childhood. I played a lot of hockey, played a lot as a kid, football. Where the Brothers Broadleaf connection becomes was I I don't know how to say this frankly, but I enjoyed cannabis when I was of age, and that was one thing that I would say wasn't a hobby, but it was definitely an interest, something that helped how I operate. I'm a highly ADD person, so it helps my brain focus and slow down, and I ended up finding myself smoking a lot of blunts in college, and blunts are what you typically think. You buy it at a gas station, it's 99 cents. You could probably buy that company's stock because it's all big corporations. So as we were getting towards the tail end of college, this would have been 2019, thinking about what we're going to do after I graduate, what everyone's on their mind. As a biology major, I was either going to join the family business or be a scientist. And I love cigars. I've always been around them. At the time, I did smoke them, but I was really into cannabis and I was smoking a lot of blunts, done a few internships in Colorado. And the writing was on the wall that there was a hole in the market where there was no premium blunt wraps. Everything was mass produced, cheap tobacco. They didn't tell you what type of tobacco it was, where in our cigar world, they tell you what wrapper it is, what country it's grown, how long it's grown for, what all the different leaves are. And in the blunt world, there was nothing. Do you want a grape? Do you want a sweet? And I kind of didn't like that. So, not to mention what we were smoking at the time, because it's mass produced and machine made, there's a lot of nicks in the leaves and holes in the leaves, and they didn't care for the leaf. It was a cigar at the end of the day that people were repurposing. Billions of cigars a year are repurposed. So we had an idea to start our own thing, and it became just something that we wanted to do for ourselves. The idea of Paxton's Pearls was always sitting in the back of my mind, just the name. I like the alliteration. And it was originally a different idea, but as COVID came around and we had a lot of free time, I'm still doing college virtually now. We're like, let's do it. So Dawson and I made a few trips before that, make some cigars, and we're just seeing what we can do. What kind of tobacco can we use? Our family sells a lot to cigar stores and smoke shops and everything. That's the business model. We're going to sell and put them in gas stations right next to the products that we smoked, growing up. Um, things things changed, and that's not how we sell for 85% of the time. And around COVID, we just started getting the ball rolling, and we were officially LLC'd right before COVID, February 1st. And we had a lot of time on our hands, so we started Brothers Broadleaf, and we can get a lot more into that if you want.
Absolutely. So, you went to college and being an aficionado of the cannabis product, for a while, having your eye on that kind of thing and understanding and realizing that there was a need, a far superior product to what you were customarily used to using in that regard. I think of when you're talking about the typical blunt wrappers, Philly blunts, the Swisher
Yes, sir.
sweets, the black and milds. But that's pretty amazing that you know, you saw a need in a particular market and you're able to utilize your resources and your familiarity with the cigar world based upon your family and what they've been doing for over 100 years. And you and your brother jumped in headlong into that industry. And the first one you launched was Paxton Pearls. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And it's funny you say jump headstrong. At the time, it all started around 2019, the idea, but we didn't fully go into it until when we were all home for COVID. My brother actually got into a master's program for entrepreneurship at University of Tampa. So before Brothers Broadly fully kicked off, I was still in college. I mark everything with when we moved into our first office because we did 3 to 4 months in my mom's, kitchen, dining room, living room, everywhere. It was spread everywhere. And I cherish those videos because we were doing drops there. We were literally packing up boxes on my mom's dining room and taking them to the post office at the airport until we got our office, which was October 1st. My brother actually, he did probably 2 to 3 weeks of a master's in entrepreneurship at University of Tampa. And we had a friend who's in the business world, and he called this man and said, "We have this cool opportunity with Brothers Broadleaf, but I'm committed to doing this master's program." And he said, "We'll always be here, but this opportunity will not." And that's when we went full force into the business.
That's very, very cool that you saw that opening and you got into the business. When you guys were starting this out, what was the biggest hurdle of getting this business operation up and running?
We come from a long line of cigar makers. But how my great grandfather started the cigar company in 1895 is not how you start a cigar company now. And there's no resources online how to start a business specifically selling cigars. Licenses do you need? How do you even start a business? Just slowly tons of Googling and okay, we need to get our LLC and then just figuring out how to piece the licensing part so we can legally sell to get this thing going. That was definitely the first big hurdle. And there was absolutely no resources besides a single article written by the PCA, the Premium Cigar Association, that was not helpful at all. And knock on wood, we haven't gotten shut down yet. So I think we're licensed and set up right.
Right. And so you said initially your idea was to sell it at the gas stations alongside the other traditional blunt wrappers,
Sir.
but you didn't go that route. Where are your products available for sale?
So we're 85% direct to consumer. Story on that, when we were importing originally, we would import 500 cigars. The guy I was buying from at the time, he was buying most of them. He told his friend. His friend is purchasing from him. It's like, okay, well now we need to go on Uline, the website, and buy some bags so we can package them up and let's actually do this thing. And that was kind of how it transitioned from we get a shipment in and we sell it. We get a shipment and we sell it. We never really had any overflow of inventory to go hit convenience stores, go hit the smoke shops. That's how it went. And honestly, well, for the first year and a half, we would have 200, 300 boxes of cigars ready to go. A box is a 5 pack. 8 5 packs, so 40 cigars total. And we'd have 250 ready to go Sunday at 3 p.m. And it was every second Sunday at 3 p.m. every 2 weeks. And we would look at our Google Analytics and there's 1,000 people on the website and they'd sell out in 2 seconds. So then Dawson's rushing down to Nicaragua trying to get more cigars made, which it ended up becoming a problem, a giant problem that we're still dealing with now. But that's how it transitioned from going from smoke shops to direct to consumer.
And when you mention it's a giant problem, if you're able to speak about it, is that a problem related to customs, shipping, logistics? What's the issue?
The problem was we didn't know projections. We didn't know inventory management. Inventory management is how I would umbrella term it. Our cigars are selling out. So we're going to the factory going, we need more cigars. We sell dark, thick, perfect leaves. If they're not dark and thick and perfect, we sell them for a discount called Dawson's Duds. At the time, our duds We had very, very few duds. When Dawson was going to the factory and trying to get as many cigars made as possible, they were making like 95% duds and no of our Paxton's Pearls. And the Paxton's Pearls were the ones that started selling out. And after probably 6, 7 months, we look over our shoulder and there's 9 months of inventory for Dawson's duds, and you can't turn that faucet off. They're rolling them for the rest of the year. So that was a fun lesson that, it took us probably 2.5 years to sell through all those cigars. And we learned that lesson. And as I say that, Dawson's in Nicaragua right now. He fully took over what my uncle does for the family company, which is day-to-day operations, making sure they have the tobacco, making sure what cigars we're selling and that we need imported are coming in. Dawson talks to the factory daily. He goes to the factory probably every 2 months or so. And he brought some teammates with him this time. So it's a fun field trip.
Awesome. And just so everybody knows, what distinguishes and makes Paxton Pearls superior to the inferior products which you're trying to replace in the market?
Oh man, how this will take up the rest of the podcast. Bottom line, higher quality tobacco that is being used for a premium cigar, something you would buy for $25 and sit and enjoy. Taking the same tobacco, we're hand rolling them just like a traditional cigar should be rolled. We're not machine making them. And then we're not adding any flavorings, no preservatives, sprays, nothing to make it last longer on the shelf because that's not our intention. Sell it directly to our smokers and have them enjoy a fresh cigar. And then there's just so many other avenues that differ from our business. Big corporations operate differently than a small, nimble, small business. They will beat us 10 days out of 10, but we can do fun things that they can't in terms of, fun product releases that we can sell in a flash or doing fun marketing online that HR would never approve of. So just little things like that.
For Paxton's Pearls and Brothers Broadleaf, are you guys selling premium cigars, or is the end user supposed to use it to smoke a blunt?
Exactly. So we're taxed and we operate as a premium cigar company. We, have all the licenses for a cigar company. We do nothing within the cannabis sector besides provide fantastic blunt wraps to people who care about what they consume, which is in this day and age, now that it's legal in so many states, a lot of people care what they consume and they want to know the genetics and where it's from. I'm a weed nerd. I'm a weed nerd at heart, and we're just chatting with other weed nerds.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole buy local thing, I mean, that does not skip over cigars. And even though you're sourcing your product from Nicaragua, essentially, I know some tobacco used to historically be grown up in, Quincy, Havana, Florida
Yeah.
area. But I think that's your last crop was sometime in the 70s. But as far as buying local, Nicaragua might be as local as you can possibly get for right now.
Yeah, there's one guy growing tobacco in Claremont, like Orlando area. My cousin uses some of it for his American cigar. About 5, 6 years ago, he had an idea of making an all-American cigar. The wood, box, the hinges, the paint, everything is American. A cigar has 3 components, binder, wrapper, filler. All of it needs to be American. So I'm pretty sure they use the Florida Sun-Grown for the wrapper, Pennsylvania broadleaf for the binder, and probably Connecticut broadleaf for the wrapper. And
Is
we
that Drew you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Well, hopefully you guys released a special, edition box for, the 250th anniversary of America. Nothing says America like smoking an all-American cigar on its 200th birthday.
They had a huge celebration at the factory because we used it for our 125th anniversary, which got delayed because of COVID. Never got to have a big celebration, so we did it there. Pretty sure it was a hot dog eating competition, but they did roll some really exclusive cigars, and the packaging was beautiful, and the bands were beautiful, and hopefully they'll be enjoyed for forever.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you just a personal story. My father was a lifetime consumer of cigars, and he used to hang out with your granddad years and years ago. And
Yes,
I
sir.
remember your granddad giving him a very nice humidor full of cigars. And my dad traditionally only chewed cigars. He never smoked them except like when the Yankees won the World Series in 1996, or when the Gators won the national championship, or when my brother playing for the Gators won a SEC championship or something like that. But he would have a cigar in his mouth probably 23 out of 24 hours of the day. He would sleep with them in his mouth. Like he was a very, very loyal customer. He's no longer with us. But when I think of cigars and I think of what a special thing cigars mean to people, it makes me think of my dad, and it makes me think of the great product that obviously your family's put forth for over 130 years. And now you and your brother are taking that in a new direction into like essentially a new chapter, which is cool and exciting. And so other than Paxton Pearls under the Brothers broadleaf brand. Do you have other products that you're offering?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So, like I said, all of the seconds we call Dawson's Duds.
And let me stop you right there real quick. Obviously, you have Paxton Pearls, which is like the cool sounding thing, and then Dawson's Duds. Obviously, alliteration and marketing is probably driving how you came up with those names. But
Yes,
did you
sir.
guys do rock, paper, scissors for who's going to get the
No.
dud?
So, genuinely, I was the one smoking blunts. My brother's always been a cannabis consumer, but not to the level that I have. He wasn't really that into it, so the whole Paxton's Pearls, that was, my push, my initiative. Dawson was planning on going to, get his master's and probably go work for JC Newman because no one thought that this would be a thing. But Dawson being the logical one, the logical brother that grounds me, once we were getting our 7th, 8th shipment in and we're sorting out all of the light colored blunts because 'cause we're promising dark and perfect, and in our customers' eyes, light colored cigars aren't perfect. So, we had big bags, big Ziploc bags of these light colored cigars. We didn't know what to do, and Dawson wanted to sell them. What are we gonna do? So, that's how we created the Dawson's Duds. We were selling 5 packs at the time, and he made a 20 bag out of it, and yeah, that's the story on that. Other products, we've gotten creative as the years go on. You have your main lines, and then you try to do something different and see if it works. 3 years ago, we got some really, really, really fancy tobacco, some hybrid tobacco that we wouldn't be able to get ever again. We rolled a few thousand cigars and we didn't have a name for it. We didn't have a product. We didn't have anything, packaging, nothing. So we stored them in a bourbon barrel because we knew the bourbon barrel in there was like nice and moist. And once we came up with the idea and everything, we pulled them out and they were like soaking wet with bourbon. They soaked up the bourbon gases and once we smoked one, we were like, "This is fantastic." It was a bourbon barrel-aged blunt. We sold them as singles, and people loved them, so we ended up figuring a way to, you know, get that more at scale than single tube jars, so we made a 10-pack, and those are called Barrel Series, and people love them. And then a new line we just created is Luna and Soul. I wish I had my jars up here, but we took the same tobacco seed, but grew one in a high elevation up in Nicaragua and one in low elevation in Ecuador, and they're completely different colors. One's thin, one's thick. And it's really, really cool just to see how tobacco reacts to climate, soils, elevation, all of that. But yeah, lots of different products.
And when you were launching this business with your brother, was there any pushback from JC Newman or the family in general about you guys moving in this direction?
Not necessarily pushback, but JC Newman is a well-oiled machine, and we're working out of my mom's kitchen. So rather than pushback, it was just disbelief. But my father has been our number one supporter since day zero on Brothers Broadleaf. When I was smoking our competitors' blunts, I'm calling him complaining, "This one is so hard to roll. Out of this 5-pack, I got one good leaf. The rest have holes." And he's like, "Okay, okay." I'm like, "We could do better." But they've been super supportive. We would not been able to do any of this without them. And ever since probably after 6 months and the proof of concept was shown that, hey, these things are good and people like them, they've showed nothing but love and support. And honestly, to be able to have that, that's a college education on its own on how does the cigar industry work? How do you get tobacco? You have to buy it a year in advance and age it properly and make sure that you're ordering the right amount of cigars, and how long does it take to get cigars shipped in, and you need an importer to ship your cigars and pay taxes. And so it's been so helpful and so awesome that they've been supporting us and allowing us do this. We are 100% legally separate. Well, it's a small business over there. We are, a team of 5. We pack orders by ourselves. We hand them to the mailman. We're, answering the phones ourselves. It's a true small business, which makes me proud because we could have easily combined it with JC Newman and had 3 accountants and an entire fulfillment warehouse. We worked out of a double wide trailer for 3 years and small business at 7 days a week for about 4 years.
Yeah, that's an amazing story from basically where you guys went in 2019. But when you initially had the idea, turning it into what it is right now with the different varieties that you just mentioned, and starting out and moving into your own real office and things of that nature. How did you connect with the end consumer in the very beginning? Like obviously, your end consumer is probably very loyal to whatever they're used to, and basically breaking that habit or, introducing a new product to somebody has a level of brand loyalty. How did you break through that barrier?
I genuinely attribute our initial breakthrough to one specific moment that was sheer luck. At the time during COVID, everyone was on Instagram and there were a few people that were famous in the weed world doing Instagram lives, and I had a copy and paste ready, and it said, "Adam Ill," the guy, "Adam Ill, let's talk about blunts," and I copied and pasted it, and every time he would look at the phone, I would paste it and send it, paste it and send it, and paste it and send it. Instagram Live has a feature where they can have you in on the live, so we can have a conversation just like you and I are having now, and I did this for probably 2 weeks until one time he saw it, said, "Brothers Broadleaf, let's talk about blunts." Popped me into the Instagram Live, and I was shaking like a scared cat, and it was like an elevator pitch, like, 30 seconds to tell him because he was a smoker of blunts, and I knew he would appreciate our product, and he gave me the time of day, and he started that first web that introduced us to a lot of people in the weed world in California, out in Los Angeles, and from there, it's just a web that one person knows someone that knows someone that knows someone, and now people know who Brothers Broadleaf is, and it's amazing.
Have you guys thought about, as part of your marketing efforts, anointing any of those types of people as blunt ambassadors where they can roll out your product and be ambassadors for the Brothers Broadleaf brand?
So it's something that we've definitely thought about. Logistically, it's something that needs time and effort. We don't know how the structure would look. And quite frankly, with the small business stuff, we're busy packing orders and making videos and doing the marketing side and don't have enough time to do that. But with the people, Adam Mill, he knows who he is. Hopefully he will listen to this. He's on a subscription. He gets all the love in the world from us and vice versa. And there's a lot of people like that. Him is just the very, very, very first person. We had 200 followers on Instagram. We're probably importing 2,000 cigars at a time. But I love the idea of a blunt ambassador. And hopefully in the years to come, we'll have a program like that.
Yeah, I just like the idea and kind of rolls off the tongue of blunt ambassador. And also, obviously, probably the most voracious consumer of blunts known to man is a gentleman by the name of Snoop Dogg.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm sure you guys have, would love to, get involved with Snoop, but Snoop's a little bit busy. If you've noticed, he's in, I think, in every commercial. He does the Olympics.
We couldn't afford that.
Yeah, maybe one day if Snoop does something out of the goodness of his heart, which I don't know if that's something that Snoop is willing to do, but that would be a cool thing. You mentioned that people are concerned about what they're putting in their body. They want to know, they want to know where their food comes from. They want to know where it was grown, what's in it, if there's any chemicals and things like that. How important is it to you and your brother to have authenticity in that space?
I think it's everything, and it's truly what sets us apart. Our competitors, like I said, when you look at their products, it's Russian cream flavor or a vanilla flavor or a strawberry or a grape, and you don't know what kind of tobacco it is. Where is it grown? I think it's extremely hypocritical this day and age for people to be so snobby about where their cannabis comes from and how many percent terpenes do they have, and then they're throwing it in the cheapest blunt wrap in the entire world where they don't know anything about it and it's sprayed with chemicals. So it's just the juxtaposition between the 2 that we wanna hold true to. I care about what I consume. I'm a bodybuilder, so I like to take good ingredients, very, very, very clean. I care about what I put in my body, and that doesn't stop at what I wrap my cannabis around.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people might say, well, you're smoking a cigar. Who cares what you're putting in your body because you're smoking something, right? But at the end of the day, even when you're doing that, you still want to be sure that you're only utilizing the best ingredients and stuff like that. And it seems like that's what you guys are pushing forward. And
Yes,
you
sir.
touched on this a little bit a second ago, but how important has social media been in your marketing push and your marketing efforts to get this thing off the ground to where it is right now?
Social media has been absolutely everything. I pride myself on not missing a single direct message for 4 years. Now we have someone named Miss Allegra who does our DMs, and she's just as good, if not better than I am at responding to everyone. But without Instagram, we would not be here at all. It allowed us to connect to so many different people and speak to them directly. At first, when we were extremely tiny, we're talking to people and doing sales through Instagram. It was literally everything. It was our e-commerce platform, and transitioning, like I said before, we were selling out so quickly, we didn't wanna market for the first 2, 3 years of Brothers Broadleaf. There was a long time where we were trying to keep it quiet. We don't want more people mad at us, more people who can't get our cigars. I want them to know about us in the future when we do have cigars that we can supply them. Hopefully, if they'll come back. And then around 2023, when we're slowly creeping up and getting closer to being in stock at all times and figuring out our production, I was like, "You know what? This sounds like a great job." I was at my dad's birthday party when 3 people from JC Newman came up to me and said, "Paxton, you can't do DMs forever. Like, you just can't. You need to hire someone. You will have so much free time to help grow the business." And, we set a deadline. This was in February. I set a deadline of May. By May, I'm gonna hire someone through the traditional Indeed or, Fiverr or whatever. And I found a friend from the gym who was perfect candidate, and we hired her. So once we hired her, it freed up all my time, and I directed all of my energy into making videos and doing silly stuff for social media and Instagram. At one point, I got really into YouTube, and I thought that was a good use of my time. I made a lot of stupid videos and spent months growing my own cigar from seed, trying to grow my own blunt wrap. Stupid stuff like that. But now my day to day, if I'm not talking to customers or packing orders, I'm probably making a video and doing something very silly on internet.
And was there one particular person or set of people other than your family who really has encouraged you and shepherded you and your brother along this process?
There's one gentleman by the name of Rich. He worked under my grandfather at JC Newman. He's still there today, and he's probably the smartest cigar tobacco guy I know when it comes to any aspect, from the marketing, from the aging, everything. He's the smartest guy, and he was the first person I texted. I still have that phone, and I saved it for that reason. It was right after 420 in 2019. I was like, "These insert company competitor, these things suck. We need to make our own." And he was like, "Come see me when you come to Tampa." So I met him that summer, and he was like, "Don't tell your dad, don't tell your brother, don't tell anyone." And so Rich was there from literally day one, and he texts us probably every 2 months. We see him probably every 2 months, and he's helped us out so much.
And obviously, you're very stoked about being in this business and doing this new venture, not necessarily breaking away from the JC Newman brand, but in essence, you guys are kind of moving into the future as far as where tobacco is going and things like that. You saw a market, you saw a need, and here you are. What energizes you about being in this spot?
My gosh, so many things from a personal aspect to be able to not take the easy route to join the family company. The company operated for 128 years before me. Yeah, I'm sure I can have some good ideas, but I'm not going to move the needle to create an idea, and then now I employ people and I pay taxes, and that is fantastic. That's one thing that makes me excited. Having micro respect in a hyper niche community. We're not known at all, but the people who know us, they know us. And it's really, really cool that two dudes who sit in a warehouse 6 days a week in Florida smoking and selling blunts, people know. And when we answer the phone and we're like, "Hey, this is Dawson from Brothers Broadleaf," because we're a small business, people, probably one out of two, probably half know, they get excited that they're talking to Dawson. And I think that makes me really, really excited to work every day. And just the idea that my father, who's 75, has no plans on slowing down. My grandfather had a heart attack at the factory when he was 90. My great grandfather died at 82 working. So if I'm 28 years old, this is just the start of it. We're 6 years deep, but this is just the start of it. That makes me the most excited.
Yeah, and then you touched on this a little bit in your answer, and that was a great response. That being essentially a big fish in a small pond, especially nowadays where niche markets are what people crave, especially with social media and the internet and things like that. Like people love to go 100% into a particular issue or topic or product. If people are runners, they love running, or if people are smokers, they love smoking. And
Mhm.
you guys are at the tip of the spear servicing that community. And I think that's super cool where you guys are forging your own way and finding your own path and creating this new market. It is pretty astounding that the market for what you're competing in had been complacent for so many years, and it was inferior and basically was neglected,
Mhm.
by people that could actually do something to change it. And then you and your brother come along with this great idea, you know, and decide we're going to change what we don't like about this thing because I'm noticing things personally that I don't like about it. And if I'm noticing it and I'm that much of a blunt aficionado as the rest of the people are, they're gonna join with me in this movement. And that seems like exactly what's going on. And that's super cool.
You're mad at this issue too? Me too.
Exactly. I hate those inferior blunt rappers.
Yeah, the bad veins, the holes, it's very validating at the time, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a dream.
Yeah, no, for sure. You guys are writing your own dream, and basically the sky's the limit of where this is going to go. And what you mentioned a second ago, where in the early days you weren't doing social media marketing because you were having a difficult time keeping the product that you had on the shelf. Which, if you ask any general business person, like that's a great problem to have. But also at the same time, to your point is people are like going to your website and it always says sold out or you can't
Make a
fulfill
lot of
the orders. People are like going to start hating on you and sending hateful DMs that you have to check immediately.
and it's me who had to respond to every single one and make
That's
people
correct. You were absorbing all the hate, and Dawson Duds over there, you just living his best life, not knowing the hate you're dealing with. But if you could eliminate one thing from this particular industry or your job tomorrow, what would it be and why?
excise tax. That's the first thing that I think about. I think the fact that we pay 52.75% just to operate and import our cigars is an astronomical tax. Any city that we sell to, any state that we sell to has their own taxes. There's so much tobacco tax. All it does is trickle down to the consumer and make our product more expensive. I would also say social media regulation. These big platforms don't like tobacco. And if we can't tell people our story because they don't like talking about tobacco, how do we ever reach anyone? We can't do paid advertisements through anyone because we're tobacco. So how that you're playing business on hard mode.
Yeah, that does raise a good point, and the distinction is, obviously, I could turn on the TV tonight or turn on any channel and see unlimited ads for alcohol time
Mhm.
and time again, but tobacco has been anointed the redheaded stepchild, so to speak. So, and also I know historically that premium cigars have fought that fight against traditional cigarette or things of that nature. Like tobacco is not
It's
equal
not
across the
equal.
board.
Yeah.
100%. I'm a proponent of cigars and premium cigars, of course. And I always say, if you look at the distinction between cigarettes and cigars, cigarettes, someone's smoking them when something stressful happens. Someone's smoking a nice premium cigar when something great happened. That's always in my mind. We're celebrating, instead of being out back next to the septic tank or where the dumpster, wherever you're supposed to smoke cigarettes these days, it's usually a stress related situation where a premium cigar, you're cracking that thing open when, like my dad would do when the Yankees won the World Series.
Yeah.
Or a baby's born, that's traditional thing. You give people a cigar when a baby's born or something
At
like
a
that.
wedding, it's a great time.
Absolutely. And you guys are just 6 years in. How do you think this is going to look in 10 years from now?
I honestly have no idea how to answer that. Every year there's been a evolution, some change in the business that levels us up and gives us the ability to grow even more. Being 100% direct to consumer with one product, then going to two product lines, then going to a third product line, then going into the wholesale market. 15% of our business is wholesale, then coming out with more products and special release cigars. And then in 2023, we created a subscription program and we've been working on that a lot and then more limited cigars. So every year we've had something that slows us down, and in addition to our business, that it doesn't complicate, it adds to the potential of what Brothers Broadleaf could be long term. I hope in 10 years I'm not sorting the cigars myself still and I'm not packing orders myself. But honestly, man, if we can continue doing what we're doing, growing 10% year after year, little by little, hopefully we'll be in a spot where we are a powerhouse in that industry. And that's all I really want is just to exactly where we are, but more.
So that's awesome. Is there in addition to that question, as far as where you see this going, is there anything that particularly worries you about the future? And if so, how are you planning to combat that worry?
You're asking the wrong brother. My brother would have a laundry list of things. He's looking at the geopolitical climate and issues with Nicaragua and US, different tariffs. We probably had 5, 6 different tariff rates during that whole thing. I'm Mr. Optimist. As long as our Instagram account doesn't get shut down and we have a consistent source of really good tobacco and we can ship it in from Nicaragua, then I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, so Paxton Pearls, you being Paxton, your cup's half full. Dawson Duds, on the other hand, he's worried about the tariffs and the excise taxes and the doom and gloom and things like that.
Dawson's the extra air in the cup. What makes us
We
work.
we can say that about Dawson because he's not here right now. He's down in Nicaragua.
Exactly.
But love to Dawson, for what he's doing for sure. And
Exactly.
obviously with a company, you need someone like Dawson because if everybody in the company is pie in the sky, sometimes when that other shoe drops and you get slapped in the face, you know, you're both not ready for it. At least Dawson has thought that out.
Well, it is so funny to see us packing cigars together and answering customers together. That's how it started. We're doing the same thing together. But as the time went on, he started veering left into dealing with all the licensing, taxes for new states, basically anything that needed to an email to be responded to with organization. He's your guy. And he's this brother in terms of like thinking analytically. I'm the go, let's, zoom zam, that whole world. So we naturally split on a path where he does what he's good at and I do what I'm good at, and we complement each other perfectly. If he was great at the marketing social media world, which ironically he did get a marketing degree, if we were both good at the same thing, we wouldn't need each other, you know?
Right, your skills complement one another, you're the yin, he's the yang, or vice versa. Yeah,
1000%.
yeah, that's fantastic. What habit has made y'all successful over these 6 years?
I like to attribute it to how available we are to talk to our customers and the people who support Brothers Broadleaf. Our phone line rings constantly and we answer all the time. Probably 20% of our customers have my personal phone number and text me. We respond to every single email, every single Instagram DM. If anyone has any issues, lost package, holes in your cigar, there's a puncture hole in your packaging and your cigar is dried out, we just stand by our word and we'll take the loss to make sure everyone's happy because we were unhappy blunt smokers at one point and we don't want to make our customers unhappy blunt smokers.
Absolutely, that's great. What's the best advice that you have received along the way as far as, launching this company, to what it is?
Man, I'm not good at these. I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've heard so many amazing things, and people in my circle have told me so many amazing things. Honestly, I'd be spewing out of my ass if I gave you a response for that one.
So would it be fair to say just over time you've collected a lot of wisdom from a lot of sources? You can't pinpoint exactly one particular source or one particular piece of advice, but the culmination of all the stuff that you've collected in your head over time is the best advice that you've received.
Never stop progressing, I guess is my motto. If that's your business, if that's your relationship with the people that you love, if that's your hobbies, never stop learning because I'm always listening to something. And my wife, she's seen the transition from me going and being just a fraternity boy drinker and getting out of that world and getting into the fitness world and the self-improvement and just watching the transition to a man who wakes up at 5 a.m. now.
Yeah, she saw you back in the day. She saw that potential, she just had to shine that diamond a little bit and here you
Yeah.
are.
Good ROI on her sake, hopefully.
Absolutely. And, and you mentioned a little bit earlier, you kinda touched on it, in addition to, launching Brothers Broadly, you're a competitive bodybuilder, which is something interesting, but tell me a little about how you got into that and what's that all about?
Man, it's the hobby that keeps me sane. Bodybuilding and entrepreneurship go hand in hand because when you leave the office and when you have your own business, you're not done. A weekend doesn't mean that you're free. And in the bodybuilding world, there's no different. You're tied to your meals, you're tied to your routine, your sleep schedule, and anything that gets you off of that once you are in the competitive nature of I want to progress and I want to get better, or you see the progression, you don't want to do anything that takes you away from your routine and makes you any worse. But back in college, I met some friends once I was done drinking and partying and stuff, and we all worked out, together, and I fell in love with it. And meeting some bodybuilder friends, I was like, hey, this seems really, really cool and interesting. And I'm watching bodybuilding online and I decided to do a show and I fell in love, and that was 6 years ago. That was October of 2020, and 135 pounds, tan in my underwear. My mom and my dad and my family's cheering in the crowd. I've done 6 shows since then, and I love it. It truly keeps me sane day to day. It makes all of the loneliness and entrepreneurship okay because I see my friends daily at the gym. It's social progression. It gives you something to look forward to when you're going through the suck because at least you're either getting bigger when you want to get bigger or you're getting shredded when you want to get shredded, no matter what you're going through in business or life.
So, what do you walk around at, and how much weight do you have to lose before the show?
I'm 185 right now. My last show I did, I was 165 pounds. So I was like 135, 141, 143, 151, 156, and then 161. But if you chart my weight out, I'm in I'm going up, so I'm gonna continue bodybuilding.
I remember when I first met you years ago, you were probably more in the 135 category, and
Yes,
then
sir.
I knew you'd started working out, and I hadn't seen you for a couple of years, and then the next time I saw you, you were getting a little bit bigger, and then I ran into your dad not too long ago, and he showed me a picture of one of your recent competitions, and I was blown away. You look like Lee Haney,
Thank you, sir.
all oiled up, and, it looked like a legitimate thing. What was an easier conversation to have with your folks? I wanna launch, Brothers Broadleaf, or I wanna be a competitive bodybuilder?
I hid the bodybuilding from them, the supplement side of the bodybuildings until they caught me. So definitely that's that one.
Yeah, the blunt wrapper business, that's completely, we'll talk about that at the kitchen table, but the
Yeah,
bodybuilding, I'm gonna keep that under wraps.
yeah, you pick one or the other, you know?
As a bodybuilder, what's harder, the workouts, the diet, or the discipline?
Workouts during leg days are hard. The diet, you really hurt. The last 4 weeks of the diet sucks, but in the stage that I'm in now sucks too, where you're deep in the off season, you're eating as much food as you possibly can. So every hour and a half, I'm drinking some shake or eating some meal, and I'm not hungry for 6 out of 6 of my meals. So the off season, I would say, is the worst, where you're just eating, you're full, you're tired. That's the worst part. Just the opposite of dieting.
How hard is it to run your business while you're preparing for these, competitions when you're obviously tired, you're depleted, you're dehydrating yourself, all those things? What's that like?
It definitely takes some planning ahead. You know, once you hit 3 weeks out from a bodybuilding show, you're basically useless to society. So, yeah, it's impossible those last 1 to 2 weeks, you can squeeze out a few hours. I had a cot at my office, so I would wake up with energy, go to the office, work out after about 2 hours, and then just try to get as much done until I just fell asleep. I would be so hungry and so tired, I just take a nap in my office and go home. But yeah, if you can take a one week vacation for the last week that it really matters to de-stress, you know, the show look isn't just about how hungry were you or how much muscle you have. If you're stressed on stage, you'll show. You'll get watery. The cortisol will show. You know, if you cheated on your diet, it'll show. You're on the stage in your underwear. It's very revealing. So if it's important to you, you could take a week off work and make that important and then transition over.
What was it like the first time when you're oiling up and getting all tan and putting on the bikini? Like, what was going through your mind when you're gonna step on stage for the first time? Was that something weird? Were you excited about it? What were you thinking?
I was excited. I think the most jarring fact of the whole bodybuilding show was the tanning. You don't think about the tanning, and it's a cute little story. The girl who tanned me for my first show has tanned me for every single one of my shows, and turns out her husband is friends with my grandma. So it's just a small world thing, but you have a tiny little sock on, and that's it. And you have this girl tanning you, and it's very uncomfortable. But honestly, I made 3 friends during that first bodybuilding show that I'm still friends with today and chat with. It was the most fun ever. It was so much fun.
And as far as bodybuilding goes, who is the biggest bodybuilder that you look up to? Who's your idol?
Man, there's a lot. Obviously, Chris Bumstead is the best in classic physique. He's the most famous. But Will, we're blessed to be in Tampa. Tampa, as well as a few other cities in America like Houston or Las Vegas or Dallas. Tampa's a hub for bodybuilding. So the gym that I go to is owned by a former Arnold Classic champ, Ben Pekulski. It's called My 40 Gym. And you see some massive monsters walk through there. So a lot of people that I'm fans of, met, you know, and said hi to at the gym, and you see these, like, otherworldly creatures walking around, and you're in shock and awe. And honestly, it's not inspiring or motivating, it's demotivating because 'cause they're just, how do you get that big? Like, your calves and it doesn't make you wanna go work out. It makes you wanna just quit because they're so big, you know?
Yeah, they look like superheroes walking around.
Seriously, yeah.
You know, obviously, I know very little about the bodybuilding industry, and I only know tangentially about the biggest names in bodybuilding, like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman. I watched a documentary about him. Like, talk about a freak, you know, just like otherworldly size, physique, and those are the kind of people that you're talking about that you just see, and you know, just like, man, this is the gold standard, and I don't even know if I could ever get there, but I'd sure like to try.
Exactly. In 2016, they created Classic, a new division for people who wanted to look back like how Arnold and the people in the '80s and the '90s. I love, what's his name? Danny Padilla. You know, that whole crew of the golden era where they're not massive monsters. Those are the people you see in the open bodybuilding. And now there's a new division for smaller waist, clean lines, and that's what I compete in, and that's what I love. They're beautiful.
better off for your long-term health of being the more athletic, fit build? Like you think, obviously, Ronnie Coleman has some massive health issues.
Yeah,
Lee Haney, another Mr. Olympian, gigantic guy, Lou Ferrigno, all those guys that are just like the quintessential when you think about bodybuilding in your mind, that comes with a lot of issues and some of those may be driven by certain supplements they're putting in their body and
yes.
the long-term effects of those kind of things. Do you think you're gonna be in bodybuilding for the continued future?
No, sir. No. Everything that you just said is 1,000% right. And it's hard to be a fantastic husband. And, when I want to be hopefully soon to be father and bodybuild and do the business, something's got to go. My personal goal is to do a national show and place first or second. And then you become a pro, you get a pro card. That's the goal. I want to become a pro. And then hang up the underwear, hang up the trunks.
The, uh, the golden trunks. Have your, bikini bronze and you can hang it in your office,
Yes, sir.
and, maybe you could make a special edition bikini blunt, when you finally do that and
A
launch it.
bikini. It smells like spray tan.
And then one more question about bodybuilding, and then I have a few more questions, we'll wrap you up. What's your favorite pose?
I'll tell you this. I had these framed. This is a front relaxed, and I just like it. I've always had wide flaring lats. So when you can do a pose that accentuates your V taper, I love that one. And I invite anyone who's listening to this to look up Paxton Newman NPC bodybuilding, and you can see all of my stage shots online from every show.
Fantastic. A few more questions. I like to call these the speed round questions. They're just yes or no kind of fun questions to close out the interview. If you need to expound on the answer, feel free to do so. First question, dogs or cats?
Dogs, dogs, huge. Yeah.
Okay, but I've talked to a bunch of people. I think dogs are 99% the favorite. Every once in a while, someone says cats, and I always ask them why, and they usually have a good response.
Small tiny anecdote, we did have a street cat that came around October, and now he spends every single day at like, in my mom's desk, basically, and I do love cats, but I have a yellow lab, and he's my best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Cats they don't require much of you, but they require a lot more for you to like, be part of their lives, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The moon landing, yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Coke or Pepsi?
I like Pepsi.
Wow. Okay. Aliens.
For sure.
All right. If you could fly, time travel, or be invisible, which one would you pick and why?
Time travel, because there's so many times I'd wanna go back to and experience or depending what type of time travel we're talking about, if we can change things. You have so much more omni power with time travel.
Is there any particular time period that you would like to go back and visit?
I'd wanna go meet my great-grandfather.
That's cool. Take him a pack of Paxton Pearls back to 1895.
Smoke a blunt in the 1800s?
Yeah, I think so. That'd be cool.
That'd be fun.
What's your favorite food?
Protein pancakes, Thai food, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches,
What's your favorite sport?
bodybuilding,
What's your favorite hobby?
bodybuilding,
Okay. Yeah, I guess it is a sport and a hobby. I mean,
and business,
all right.
making
Does
videos.
all right. Does ketchup belong on a hot dog?
And only ketchup.
Wow, okay. What's your favorite book, movie, song, and sequel? And for this one, I always say, if the book was made into a movie, that movie had a sequel, and there was a song in one of those movies, you can pick you pick one for all. Otherwise, you can break it up.
Favorite book? I would say Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. Favorite song? Anything by Sleeping with Sirens. If you're James Dean, I'm Audrey Hepburn. That was what we had our first dance to at our wedding, the acoustic version. And then movie? Probably I Love You, Man. I love
Jason
that
Segel.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
love
funny.
that movie.
He does a fabulous, I think it's in that movie, he does a fabulous Andre the
Yeah,
Giant
he does that.
impersonation. That's right. And what about sequel?
Favorite sequel? My wife took me to see, Devil Wears Prada 2. I like that. That's a guilty pleasure. I love watching stupid movies with my wife.
Yeah, they should have called that movie The Devil Still Wears Prada instead of the Prada
Mhm.
2, but I'm just an idea guy, what do you want me to do? Um, okay, Paxton, give me the name of one person you think I should interview next.
I think you should interview my cousin, Drew. Drew is a lot more prepped on the PR side, speaking to the public. He knows so much about both Tampa history, cigar history, our family history. And he's just an intelligent dude who loves what he does. I think you'd have a lot of fascinating conversations, especially being a Tampa guy yourself. Just with the renovation of the factory recently, they've undiscovered so many cool little mysteries and gems and stuff. So I say interview Drew, and I can connect you if you want.
Absolutely, that'd be great. And tell people where they can learn more about Brothers Broadleaf and what you do, your bodybuilding. Give me your socials, give me your channels, whatever you got.
Check out Brothers Broadleaf on Instagram, the one with the blue check. I post videos of me doing stupid things there probably every other day. Our YouTube is fun. If you want to check our cigars out, brothersbroadleaf.com. And if you want to see me in underwear, look up Paxton Newman NPC on Google and you'll find it.
All right. Well, Paxton, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thanks for joining Pod Number and telling me about Brothers Broadleaf and generally about your family's story.
Well, I've had a blast and it's an honor. It's good seeing your handsome face. And thank you so much for having me, sir.
Absolutely, buddy. I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Bye.